Part 116. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei-Shi Niang. Chapter 1151. Zhang Chen and his two cars arrived at the big roundabout at the entrance of Xiaosha Development Zone, turned left onto Road 1, and then drove forward along Road 1. Zhang Chen drove in front and saw Secretary Qiu and Director Zheng in the distance. Wait for them at the end of Route 1. Zhang Chen and Lu Ligan pulled over the car and everyone got out of the car. At the end of the road, there is a large open space covered with waist-high grass. In the middle of the grass, there are several large bamboo work sheds. As they got closer, they saw that there was no grass growing in the middle of the open space, but a large cement-poured field. There were also piles of cement bricks and prefabricated boards on the field, and there was a large one on the side. In the yard, there are piles of river sand, steel bars, and stones. Zhang Chen and the others got out of the car and introduced each other. Secretary Qiu said, "This is the land. If Mr. Zhang likes it, we can give it to you." "How many acres is this land?" Lu Ligan asked. 72.3, Director Zheng said. "Has it been requisitioned?" Lu Ligan asked. "There is no issue of expropriation," Director Zheng said. "Before the development zone was established, this area was originally a large wasteland. Now that the development zone has been established, our village leveled the area and set up a building materials factory to make prefabricated panels and cement bricks, sell them to the units in this development zone, and rent the space to them to pile building materials. Nowadays, everyone uses frame cast-in-place floor slabs. Not many people use prefabricated slabs, so they can't be sold, right?" Zhang Mushin said. Director Zheng said with some embarrassment, "Yes." He looked at Zhang Mushin and asked, "Why do I think you look familiar?" "I used to work in the second construction of the city, and I built several companies in the development zone. When I was building Yiming Food Factory, I bought prefabricated boards and hollow bricks from you, and we have dealt with each other," Zhang Mushin said. Director Zheng nodded. "No wonder. If this place is to be transferred, are all the procedures complete?" Lu Ligan asked Secretary Qiu. Secretary Qiu said, "Yes, you just need to get the big certificate to divide and confirm the rights. This has been agreed. It turns out that it is not farmland. Now we are not the only ones who want to sell this land. The city leaders, the first time I accompanied a guest to visit the development zone, he scolded us and said that our place had damaged the overall image of the development zone." Secretary Qiu said, and everyone laughed. Zhang Chen and the others stood there and looked around. They felt that this place was indeed pretty good. It was at the corner of number 1 and number 2 roads in Xiaosha Development Zone. Number 1 inside the number 2 road and number 2 road is the development zone, and companies are already starting construction. On the left side of road number 2, opposite this open space, is the track and field of Hangzhou Normal University. The road leading in from where they are standing is called Wenaiyuan Road. Wenaiyuan Road is full of potholes. Although it is similar to road number 1 is connected, but from road number 1 to Wenaiyuan Road, it feels like you have suddenly arrived in a slum area. Even the road signs are different. The road signs on road number 1 and road 2 opposite are enamel road signs with blue background and white letters in Chinese and English, installed on special poles. However, this Wenaiyuan Road only uses a wooden sign tied to the electric pole on the roadside. The words Wenaiyuan Road were handwritten with paint. Across the road, Jasa village is separated from the development zone and the university town. This road sign seems to tell you, "Please pay attention, entering from here is the countryside." In addition, Zhang Chen, Lu Ligan, and Lao Tan all felt that this place was good. It was just across the road from the development zone and the transportation was very convenient. As long as a factory was built here, the whole dilapidated situation would be over. Your perspective will change immediately. This place will no longer be a dividing point, but will merge with the opposite side of the road. Since we are all in Xiaosha, why not go to the development zone to get land, but here, our company's investment intensity is no problem, and it fully meets the conditions for entering the development zone, Tan Shahan said lightly from the side. Secretary Chiu and Director Zheng looked at each other, and a shadow quickly cast over their faces. This was actually their worry. Several companies that came to talk to them all ended up in the development zone, although there was only one road between them. Separated, but the difference is still very big. Across the road is the management committee of the development zone. Whether it's business, or taxation, you all go to the management committee building. And here, it is under the jurisdiction of the Xiaosha Town Industrial and Commercial Office and the Taxation Office. Generally, foreign companies are willing to deal with the management committee. They feel that they are more standardized and have advanced management and service awareness. There are so many world-renowned companies in the development zone. Your service awareness is not strong, how to connect with them? This kind of township and town local government has always been stigmatized, and it is always felt that they are equated with management, encumbrance, and necessity. For Lu Ligan and Zhang Chen, they certainly don't have this worry. How can they put so much emphasis on various departments in the town, manage, block, and demand them, just to borrow your courage? Do you dare? When Lu Ligan heard Tan Shahan's words, he understood that this was the beginning of bargaining. Lu Ligan immediately came over to join in the fun. He asked Director Zheng. It's impossible for you to enjoy the various preferential policies in this development zone, right? It's something we can fight for. We've already informed the town, Director Zheng said. Industry and commerce, taxation, health, labor, and fire protection are all under direct management and have nothing to do with the town. Even if the town agrees, they can't do anything, Tan Shahan said. Once this enterprise is established, it will be killed. If you want to cut it, you have no choice but to do it yourself. Tan Shahan's words were direct and rude. She pointed out the disadvantages of this place compared with the development zone at once, and it also touched the sore point of Secretary Chiu and Director Zheng. Secretary Chiu said quickly. Mr. Tan's words are serious. If you want to kill or cut into pieces, who dares to kill Mr. Zhang's company? Tan Shahan smiled and said, Secretary Chiu, there is a saying that is good, the king of hell is easy to meet, but the devil is difficult to deal with. I'm sorry, I am not talking about you, but I am saying that there are always some people in those departments who are unclear and do not know the heights of the sky. Although we are not afraid, the cost of human and mental effort to deal with them is too high. It is better to be in the development zone where everything is clear and refreshing. Secretary Chiu and Director Zheng's faces were gray, and they felt that this time the investment was probably out of business again. Tan Shahan added with a smile, of course, it's just my personal opinion. The idea is still up to Mr. Zhang and Mr. Lu. Director Zheng quickly said, okay, as our village committee, without any hesitation, our attitude is that if you come, we will definitely give our full support. Secretary Chiu nodded on the side. While Tan Shahan was talking to Secretary Chiu and Director Zheng, Lu Ligan and Zhang Chen, Lao Tan walked aside. They looked at the land. Lu Ligan quietly asked Zhang Chen. How about it? I think it's okay here, Zhang Chen said. You should also consider what Zhen Zhen said, Lao Tan reminded Zhang Chen. If there are any preferential policies in this development zone, they are only for foreign invested and joint ventures like Brother Lu and others. There are no preferential policies for domestic funded enterprises, Zhang Chen said. You can bring Lin Shuwen in and set up a fake joint venture, Lu Ligan said, and then go to the development zone to get land. Zhang Chen shook his head and said, forget it, it's better to be simple and refreshing. Besides, Lin Shuwen is not alone now, so it's better not to disturb her as much as possible. That's right. Like now, when everyone is well, there is nothing. If something happens, and they are involved in each other, they will affect each other, Lao Tan said. Let the facts be whatever they are. then it's better not to do things that take advantage of policy loopholes. Zhang Chen said yes, I think so too, and I don't care if there are any tax exemptions. If a company must get preferential policies to survive, it means that your company has no competitiveness at all. So, you are optimistic about this place? Lu Ligan asked. Zhang Chen nodded and said, I think it's okay. Secretary Chiu and Director Zhang, I think, are very sincere. A company like mine can be a chicken head here. When we get to the development zone, we can compete with those multinational companies. Come on, I'm just a little brat. If anyone takes you seriously, I think it's good to continue in the same state as in Sanbeo. Lao Tan laughed and said, it seems that you are still unwilling to submit to others. Zhang Chen also smiled and asked, with the current situation of this site, can construction be carried out immediately? This is okay, Lao Tan said, if it turns out to be a sloping land, the foundation below is also solid, and construction can be carried out immediately. By the way, you reminded me, Lu Ligan said, from this point of view, it seems that we should choose here. If it is in the development zone, we have gone through the preliminary procedures when we built Yiming Commodity Factory. If it is not complete, the management committee will not let you start work, so it will take at least another month. Here, if we can negotiate well today, these two people can make the decision. They can sign the agreement in the evening and enter the venue tomorrow. All the procedures can be completed on the go. There is no problem with this. Zhang Chen and Lao Tan both nodded, feeling that this month was also very critical for them. It's decided, let's do it here, Zhang Chen said, 72 acres is a suitable size. We can leave the second phase to Jiao Si. At Jiao Si's place, Lu Ligan asked the planning bureau this morning. Nothing happened yet, but in 3 years, there will be a project plan to widen the national highway. The specific plan has not yet come out. If it comes out, it is likely to affect Zhang Chen's wedding dress and the Huari refrigerator next to it, so they also had to prepare in advance. From the perspective of management convenience and reduction of operating costs, it is also beneficial to Zhang Chen and others to merge the two factories into one. Okay, that's it, Lu Ligan said. The three people walked back to Tan Shehen and the others. Secretary Chiu and Director Zheng were already a little disgraced by Tan Shehen. Seeing them coming, Director Zheng said quickly, let's go and sit at the village committee. When Zhang Chen was about to say yes, Lu Ligan looked at his watch and said to Zhang Chen, aren't you in the office? Do you still have clients waiting for you? Just leave it to us. You can go. Tan Shehen looked at Zhang Chen, turned her head to one side, and tried her best to suppress her laughter. Zhang Chen cursed in his heart, you, but he still nodded. He told Secretary Chiu and Director Zheng. Yes, I have important clients, Secretary Chiu and Director Zheng. I have to leave first. Here, Mr. Lu and Mr. Tan can completely represent me. No matter what happens, they can make the final decision. Secretary Chiu and Director Zheng both agreed. Zhang Chen got in the car and went back to the company alone. Lao Tan and Zhang Mushin walked to the open space to check the situation of the land. Lu Ligan and Tan Shehen invited Secretary Chiu and Director Zheng to get into Tan Shehen's room. BMW, let's go to the village committee together. Thank you for the tip from the third one from top to bottom, 131, on the shore. Thank you Qian Dad and book friend 201808140849345546 for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Have a good evening everyone. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1152. Zhang Chen drove alone and walked back along road number 1. He arrived at the Spicy Fish Pot restaurant. Although it was only 4 o'clock, Zhang Chen's addiction started to kick in. He stopped the car on the side of the road and walked. I entered the shop and ordered a pot of spicy fish, a plate of pickled radish and 2 slices of urquatu. He was the only customer in the whole store. He chose a seat by the window and sat down. The boss was very quick. After only 5 or 6 minutes, a pot of spicy fish came up. The white grass carp slices were on the table. A layer of dried red pepper and red oil soup floats in the pot, with green peppercorns mixed in the middle, which makes your taste buds burst into bloom. Zhang Chen quickly picked up a piece of fish and put it into his mouth. It was smooth, tender, spicy, and fragrant. It was so enjoyable. The spicy fish here is better than the spicy fish he has eaten in other places. Zhang Chen thought that if the factory moved here, he could often eat spicy fish, which would be a good thing. The development zone is full of factories. Except for a street with a few small restaurants near the university town, there are no restaurants elsewhere. The largest Hualien supermarket in Xiaosha is also located behind this row of shops. Xiaosha Town. This row of storefronts facing the development zone is lined up along the entire number 1 road. From the beginning of the road to the end of the road, there are dozens of shops, except for a few selling BB machines and small shops with flowers in the middle. In addition to smart shops, beauty salons, hardware stores, and stationery stores, there are basically restaurants with local flavors. It can be said that this is the busiest place in the entire Xiaosha development zone. During the evening meal and supper time, students from the university town and workers in the development zone will gather here to have dinner. As long as you are a college student in Xiaosha University town and have studied for several years, almost everyone has the experience of having dinner together on number 1 road. Zhang Chen thought of Hui Huan last night. He thought that if she didn't want to take advantage of the village committee and just opened a hotel in a place like this, with her own cleverness, hard work, and boldness, the business would not be good. If you're not good enough, why bother looking at people every day, flattering them with a low eyebrow, drinking with them, being taken advantage of, and trying your best to protect yourself? After serving the fish, the boss then served pickled radish. It was still early for dinner and the boss was the only one in the store. He let his helper go shopping in the back. Zhang Chen chatted with the boss and asked about the rent and other conditions here, and he had an idea. When the number of people in the store started to increase, Zhang Chen had already finished a pot of fish, a plate of pickled radish and 2 slices of erkuatu. He paid the bill and went out. Just when he walked out of the spicy fish pot restaurant, his cell phone rang. It was Zhao Zhigang. Zhang Chen picked up. Zhao Zhigang shouted anxiously, "Boss, our place is going to be demolished." Zhang Chen was surprised and asked, "How do you know?" Demolition notices were posted on the streets, and the joint defense team in front also sent a copy to our factory, Zhao Zhigang said. This is really fast. Last night, I told myself to keep it a secret, but today it was posted all over the street. Zhang Chen thought about it for a while and understood that after last night's drink, the secretary and director just felt that they should inform themselves first as a courtesy. After all, they had been friends for several years, and for the sake of smooth demolition later, it was better to inform themselves in advance. I only knew it was better when I saw the notice on the street. Boss, what should I do? Zhao Zhigang asked anxiously. Zhang Chen deliberately pretended to be relaxed and asked, "Why are you panicking?" "I'm not panicking, it's the workers down there who are panicking. This factory is going to be demolished. What will happen to so many people? They are all dead, why don't we just wait for others to demolish it?" Zhang Chen scolded. "Tell everyone, before the demolition, we will definitely have a new factory, so there is nothing to panic about." "Okay, I understand," Zhao Zhigang said. Hey, and asked, "Boss, when they asked you to go yesterday, did they just talk about this? You knew about it yesterday, right? No wonder they called you. You're not weird at all. Then what else do I want? Cry on the phone?" "No, boss, you knew it yesterday, but you didn't tell me." "Isn't this too interesting?" Zhao Zhigang said. Zhang Chen was greatly embarrassed. It seemed that he was not interested enough in Zhao Zhigang yesterday, but also in Huihuan. She was probably scolding him now. Zhang Chen sighed secretly. He only blamed the secretary for explaining to him last night. Damn it, you asked me to keep it a secret, just for one night? Zhang Chen was a little annoyed, but he couldn't get angry at Zhao Zhigang, so he could only comfort him and said. I was just afraid that you would be in such a panic, so I didn't tell you. Do you understand? We are already looking for land today. Originally, I thought I would tell you after everything is confirmed. By the way, what does it say? Time. March is the mobilization period, and April and May are the assessment and appraisal period. A compensation agreement is signed at the end of May and compensation money is paid. Relocation begins in June and July. The relocation must be completed by the end of August. If the relocation is not completed, relocation fees will not be paid, Zhao Zhigang said. Okay, I understand. You don't have to worry about this. Gather all the supervisors below and make it clear to them that even if we move, production will not be interrupted. Everyone will follow the original production plan and tasks. Don't be intimidated. The impact of this incident. Also, let me tell you that the new factory we are going to build, whether it is the production environment or the living environment, will only be better than the original one, not worse than the original one. This makes everyone feel at ease. Zhang Chen said to Zhao Zhigang on the other end of the phone. When you say this, I feel confident. Boss, I will convene a meeting right away. Everyone is really panicked. Some of the people who just arrived today are thinking about taking advantage of this moment to find a new factory. To avoid having no jobs in the middle of the year, Zhao Zhigang said. No worries, Zhang Chen scolded. Workers, migrant workers, whether or not there is a job is a big deal for everyone. Why are you worrying so blindly? Boss, do you think every worker is like you? Even if you don't work all your life, you still have enough money to spend now, Zhao Zhigang said. Zhang Chen laughed and said, okay, Zhao Zhigang, your criticism is damn right. It was me who did not think about the problem from a worker's perspective. It was my fault. I won't bother you anymore, I'm going to a meeting, Zhao Zhigang said and hung up the phone. A beeping sound came from the phone, and Zhang Chen cursed, lawless, you Zhao Zhigang, how dare you hang up on your boss? After cursing, he laughed to himself. He knew that people like Zhao Zhigang would always think about problems from the perspective of workers, so if this little tailor with a low level of education could adapt to the local environment, the workers would trust him and feel that he was the same as him. Yes, this cannot be learned from books. It is incomparable to those who graduated from college and studied business management. In any enterprise, what you have to manage are people, not machines. You can operate the machines according to the instructions, but you can only be effective if you manage people from their hearts. Those who only talk about system construction and management models every day are basically guys who show off after reading a few books. They don't know that any enterprise must be a local product and must comply with the local soil and climate at that time. Condition. A mere formality system can have tens of thousands of articles, but for an army with millions of people that can win a war, their magic weapon 3 major disciplines and 8 points of attention has only 11 articles in total, 62 words. There is not a single uncommon word in it. Zhang Chen thought of the White Swan hotel management practice he bought when he was in Haikan. It was a thick book with hundreds of pages. At that time, he felt very impressed. What kind of company relies on such a thick book? This book will be used to manage it. Now that I think about it, 90% of it is nonsense that can be deleted. Zhang Chen walked to his car, opened the door, went in and sat down. He breathed a sigh of relief and thought about whether he should go to the Sanbeo factory or the company. In the end, he decided to go back to the company. What happened at the Sanbeo factory? Let Zhao Zhigang handle it, I believe he can handle it well. Zhang Chen turned right at the big roundabout at the end of road number 1. From here to his company, it was a straight line, without even turning in the middle. Starting from the big roundabout is Yingbin Avenue, and at the end of Yingbin Avenue, it is connected to Zhen at the end of Shangzi Road and Zhenchen West Road. It connects to Huanchen North Road. When you reach Huanchen North Road, you can go directly to the downstairs of the dynamic zone. Thinking about it this way, the transportation here is really convenient. You can go from the factory to the company by walking in an L shape. Zhang Chen walked into his office and just sat down when his cell phone rang. It was Tan Shahen. He picked it up. Tan Shahen said to him on the phone, "Mr. Zhang, we have negotiated with Secretary Chiu and the others here. The price of the land is 50,000 yuan per acre. They will clean up all the things on the ground tomorrow. If they have not cleaned up, we will dispose of it as garbage." Tan Shahen called him Mr. Zhang instead of Zhang Chen, indicating that she was with them. Zhang Chen heard Tan Shahen's call. Director Zheng was saying, "We have no use for those sand, gravel, and steel bars. We can either give them to you at a discount, so that you can use them when building factories, and we won't have to look for them again." Buyer Lu Ligan said, "Why do we need these things? We have so many construction sites and the demand is very high. The price of these things is very cheap." Zhang Chen lowered his voice and said to Tan Shahen, "Tan Shahen, don't let the pole go too far." Tan Shahen didn't seem to hear what he said, but raised her voice and asked again, "Mr. Zhang, what do you think about the price of the land?" Zhang Chen said, "Yes, okay, do you need me to come over?" "No need. If you agree to this price, we will sign it," Tan Shahen said. "I agree, just sign it," Zhang Chen said. The land in Xiaosha Development Zone is now priced at 100,000 yuan per acre. It is across the road from the development zone and is still closest to the city. When talking about half the price in the development zone, Zhang Chen feels that this price is a good deal. If he is not driven away, he should not be able to talk. Zhang Chen sat there and couldn't help laughing. Thank you to the blind man for watching the pantomime Z, reading the book every day, and the doll Tin Soldier for the reward. Thank you Gu Chan and Shifang Xian for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Happy Monday everyone. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1153. Although he had eaten a bowl of fish earlier, Zhang Chen felt a little hungry again at around 6 o'clock. Then he remembered that he had hardly eaten at noon. The total amount of food in his stomach was not much today. Thinking of this, Zhang Chen himself laughed and cursed, "Eat whatever you want, why are you looking for so many excuses?" He walked down to the cafeteria to eat alone, without waiting for Lu Ligan, Tan Shahen, and the others. He knew that at this time, they must be toasting with Secretary Chiu and Director Zheng in some hotel to celebrate the successful signing of the contract. They would not be able to come back soon. Zhang Chen met Brother Hagen in the cafeteria. Brother Hagen saw that he was dodging a little bit, but he couldn't dodge. Then he looked at Zhang Chen and said apologetically, "Where is the third fort?" This look made it seem as if it was his fault that the 3 forts were to be demolished. Zhang Chen nodded and said to Hagen, "I knew it last night. They came to me yesterday to tell me this. By the way, our factory will be moved to Jasa." "Brother Hagen, you know Jasa?" I know, Hagen said quickly. "The land transfer agreement has been signed today. We will build a new factory there. The location is not bad. It is at the entrance of Jasa village, close to the corner of number 1 and number 2 roads in Xiaosha Development Zone," Zhang Chen explained. Hagen was relieved and said, "It's pretty nice there. It's very convenient to get in and out of the city." "Yes, I drove today. The place is a little far away from the company, but it's just a straight road away. Zhang Chen said and remembered something. He said, by the way, Brother Hagen, Sanbao is going to be demolished. You, Sister Gihua, your aunt, including the landlord, don't look for another house this time, just live upstairs here and wait for the move back, which will be in a year at the earliest. Hagen said okay, I will talk to Gihua and the others. After dinner, Zhang Chen returned to the office. He thought that since the place had been decided, it was a done deal. He had to make the plan for the entire factory area immediately, including the design of the factory buildings and office buildings. Do it? If they are in a hurry, Zhang Mushin will enter the venue in the next few days, and they will definitely complete all the procedures as they go. Zhang Chen took out his sketchbook and started drawing. He had been to that place in the afternoon. Although he didn't know the specific size, he knew that the entire terrain was a rectangle. He first drew a rectangle and then divided it into two. The new factory should be different from the old factory. He thought of Lao Ni's Dawa chemical fiber in Kikiao. He felt that the plan was reasonable, that is, the production area and the living area must be separated into two different areas. Zhang Chen divided the rectangle into two, with the front 50 acres, near the end of road number 1, as the production area, and the back 22 and 3 acres as the living area. The gate of his factory opens towards road 1, which means you can drive straight into his factory from road 1. The advantage he has over Lao Ni is that he doesn't need to open another road. There is already Wenyuan Road nearby. Just open the gate of the dormitory area to Wenyuan Road. From the factory to the dormitory behind, it only takes just walk out of the gate and walk through Wenyuan Road on the side. To make it easier for workers to commute to and from get off work, Zhang Chen also thought of opening a 4.5 meter wide back door between the factory area and the dormitory area. There would be a duty room next to this door, which would be manned. In case of emergency, it can be used as a safe passage between the two areas. During normal commuting time, the door can also be opened, so that workers do not need to take a long detour from outside the factory, but can enter and exit through this door. During working hours, this retractable door will be closed, blocking the passage of the two areas. After the overall division and arrangement are completed, Zhang Chen will start to arrange the layout of these two areas and each area. It's easy first and then difficult. Zhang Chen's eyes are fixed on the living area first. The living area is very simple, as long as it meets its functional requirements. The appearance design of the entire building is also quite satisfactory, and there is no need to be outstanding. It must be composed of two parts, a canteen and a dormitory. Zhang Chen first drew a courtyard on paper, which is the center of the living area. In the middle of the courtyard is a basketball court, surrounded by a green belt, which can also be said to be a small garden. This is a place for workers to move and rest. All the houses are arranged on three sides around the basketball court and garden. Close to the back wall, there are two long 5-story buildings, which are collective dormitories. Another building is erected horizontally, which is also a collective dormitory. These three buildings, the dormitories, form an inverted L shape and they need to be able to accommodate 3,000 people. There are 6 people in each room, and there are no public restrooms in the dormitories. Zhang Chen believes that as long as there are public restrooms, they must be a dead end of hygiene and not hygienic at all. Zhang Chen decided to cancel the public bathroom and instead provide an independent bathroom in each room. Near the production area, there are 2 houses, one large and 2 small, side by side. The larger one has 3 floors. The first and second floors are employee canteens, and the third floor is the workers' club. There are table tennis and badminton halls, as well as a library. The 2 small buildings are 2 6-story multi-story buildings. Each building has 6 houses on the first floor. Each house is 65 square meters, which is the same size as the house in their splendid home. The two buildings total 72 square meters. House. These 72 houses are for factory managers. Zhang Chen feels that for a factory to be stable, the stability of middle-level managers is the most important. Most of these people are already married, and some of them are both working in their factory. If we want them to be stable, the most important thing is to solve their worries. They will have children who will go to kindergarten, elementary school, and middle school. They cannot be allowed to drag their families to live in a dormitory. The door of the living area faces Wenyuan Road, and the small door connecting the production area is also close to Wenyuan Road. The two doors are also in an inverted L shape, and the duty room is located at the top corner of the L shape. With two doors, the security guards on duty can take care of both. The layout of the entire living area was arranged. Zhang Chen took a look and found that there seemed to be nothing that needed to be modified. All that was needed was to wait for Lu Ligan and the others to come back and calculate the size of each house based on the size of the land boundary map. The rectangular land boundary cut off the 22.3 acres of the living area behind it and turned it into a square. What Zhang Chen felt was important was how the square was laid out, which was related to the image of their entire factory. A factory of their size is not too small even compared to those companies in the development zone. The planning and shape of the entire factory must also take into account that it is next to the Xiaosha development zone, which has so many world-class the company's factory in China. Zhang Chen felt that his factory, at least in appearance, could not be bullied by them. So he has to think about it carefully. Zhang Chen stood up, walked to the door, shook his head, and stepped back. He originally wanted to go through the small door and go to the rooftop garden next door. Lu Ligan's favorite place to stand was by the railing. In fact, Zhang Chen also liked it. Places to go. Standing there, looking at the construction site in the center of Hangzhou in front of you, the noise of the winch and the mixer is very stimulating to the human senses, making you feel as if you can feel the pulse of the earth beating. When he reached the door, Zhang Chen remembered that the rooftop garden was no longer there and had been converted into a market. Zhang Chen sighed and walked to the window. Night had fallen outside. Zhang Chen looked at the splendid Jiangnan opposite and the bright lights reflected in the Jiangnan Canal. Just after the New Year, everyone seems to be getting busy. In the three office buildings of splendid Jiangnan opposite, almost all the companies have their lights on, and people are working overtime in the offices. In all offices, everyone agreed to choose the incandescent light instead of the warm light when decorating it. It seems that everyone agrees that the office should be so bright and a little cold. So unreasonable. This piece of incandescent light is reflected in the canal, and it is white and blue, as if a large piece of snow has fallen. Zhang Chen's heart moved. He thought of that distant sea city and how he was attracted by the blue light in the darkness in front of Lao Xie's factory. When he got closer, he saw that it was fireflies. Zhang Chen thought of the Chinatown that was already ruined on paper, and almost screamed. Yes, that design could just be moved here. That kind of futuristic and industrial feel could be placed there. This place couldn't be more suitable. Zhang Chen decided in almost a second that this was it. The outer wall of the factory building was made of corrugated aluminum plates, which were horizontal. The waves were like silver waves advancing layer by layer. No matter it was day or night, it would shine. It was decided to use corrugated aluminum panels for the exterior walls. The image of the entire factory became three-dimensional. It must be a whole and must be large enough. Otherwise, it cannot show its momentum. Zhang Chen immediately rejected his original Phase 1 and Phase 2. The idea is that this factory does not have a first or second phase. If it is to be demolished, it must be completely underground. If you want to divide, you can only divide inside. Zhang Chen decided that the entire factory building was divided into 3 floors, with a single floor of 18,000 square meters and a total of 54,000 square meters on the 3 floors. Such a huge behemoth was enough to set off the momentum of the entire factory area. Of course, such a large area on a single floor cannot be a workshop. Even for safety reasons, it is impossible and the fire inspection will not pass. Zhang Chen thought about it and used rolling shutters inside to isolate. This workshop also meets the fire protection requirements. These roller shutters are usually closed and can be opened at any time when needed, which also facilitates the transfer of materials between workshops. This is a good idea, that's it. The fireproof isolation roller shutters have also become their internal partitions. When needed, use one section. When they are not needed yet, leave those spaces in their original state. 18,000 square meters is a whole, and the upper and lower floors are also a whole. In order not to destroy the overall effect, we cannot use the method of opening large windows. Especially the side-facing Route 1. At most, rows of small round windows can be made on both sides, similar to the effect of the portholes of warships and airplanes. But in this way, the appearance effect is achieved, but for the inside of the factory, the lighting is not enough. This is another contradiction. What to do? Zhang Chen looked at the sparkling waves of the Jiangnan Canal outside and pondered. Thank you Lao Chantang, ranked third from top to bottom, and 131 on the shore for the tip. Thank you Ba Liang, Feng Qingyang, Shi Fangxian, and Lao Ziyi for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1154. Zhang Chen walked back to his desk and sat down. He took the pen and paper, and as usual, he used the pen to draw aimlessly on the paper. On the paper, lines appeared in a mess. He wanted to find the shape of his factory building among the chaos. A piece of paper was quickly filled with these messy lines. Zhang Chen threw it aside and took another piece of white paper. He first drew a square, and then he immediately rejected it. Such a boxy building was too rigid from every aspect. Then, Zhang Chen drew another semicircle and shot himself to death. This time it was not because it was too rigid, nor because the semicircle or crescent shape did not look good, but because the interior of a building with this shape space utilization is very low, especially for factories. In principle, the internal space of a factory like theirs still needs to be square, and rows of sewing machines must be placed neatly. This is also considered to facilitate on-site management and the convenience of material transportation in the workshop. You can't place the sewing machines in an uneven manner, so that whether the supervisor is inspecting the groups below him or transporting cut pieces and finished and semi-finished products, it's like playing hide and seek. That's definitely not going to work. Considering the space requirements inside the workshop, it is either rectangular or square. Thank you, you don't have to be ingenious. The inside of the workshop is different from the appearance of the building. Pragmatism always prevails inside. Zhang Chen then drew a concave shape, which evolved from the crescent shape. His eyes lit up, and he felt sensitively that this was the most ideal shape. The concave gap faced the door. He enlarged the gap and stretched it horizontally. In this stretched gap, Zhang Chen immediately thought that it would just fit into a square office building. The front of the office building should be slightly protruding from the two concave ends, so as not to look rigid. Almost without thinking, I determined that this office building, just like their lakeside oil painting gallery, has an all-glass exterior wall. Haha, isn't this too cool? A 3-story glass office building, embedded in the middle of the huge corrugated aluminum plate building, completely complements each other. The entire layout instantly becomes smart and grand. Because it is blocked by the office building, the side of the concave-shaped factory building facing the middle office building can have a row of huge windows on the first floor, which solves the lighting problem in the workshop. At the same time, in order to facilitate the connection between office personnel and the workshop, a passage can be made behind the square office building leading to the concave-shaped workshop at the back. It was like a switch. When the switch was turned on, everything was illuminated. All the problems that Zhang Chen was worried about were solved. Zhang Chen couldn't help but laugh again. Zhang Chen couldn't wait to take out the pencil drawing paper, paints, and pens from the cabinet. He wanted to freeze the image of the entire factory area on the paper, that is, to freeze his thoughts. He wanted to see what his factory would look like under the blue sky and white clouds of Xiaosha. Zhang Chen was very fast when drawing. After he became confident, he became even faster. He was so fast that he almost couldn't breathe. It only took him half an hour to finish a painting with the final effect. In one stroke, Zhang Chen felt as if he had just finished a strenuous exercise. His heart was pounding so hard that he was about to suffocate. He threw away the pen, walked to the sofa, and sat down, breathing heavily, but he was trembling with excitement. Because he was very confident that on the conference table over there, just a few meters away from him, there was an almost perfect rendering, lying there quietly. It almost didn't look like he drew it on his own, but rather it popped out of his brain and hands. He was so agile that he couldn't control it. When he slowly calmed down, Zhang Chen wanted to go over and take another look, but he tried his best to control his desire. He picked up the cup on the coffee table and took a few more sips of water. He seemed to be deliberately delaying the time to see it again. It was like reading a good book or a good movie that you couldn't wait to see. It is also very afraid of finishing it all at once. Zhang Chen stood up, but deliberately did not look at the conference table. Instead, he walked to the window again and looked at the Jiangnan Canal and splendid Jiangnan outside. Now in splendid Jiangnan, half of the offices are empty, even the lights have been turned off, and the Jiangnan Canal has become dim. Zhang Chen stood in front of the window and smoked a cigarette. After finishing a cigarette, he wiped out the cigarette butt on the window glass. He flicked the thumb and index finger of his right hand and tried to flick the cigarette butt into the waste paper basket at the foot of the wall, but the cigarette butt was lost. It hit the crosshair, bounced against the wall, and then fell to the ground. Zhang Chen was too lazy to pick it up, so he turned around and walked towards the conference table. He deliberately pretended to be casual. When he walked to the rendering, his eyes lit up. "Not bad, Zhang Chen, you're not bad at all," Zhang Chen muttered, "you don't have a brain yet." Zhang Chen stared at the rendering and confirmed that there was nothing that needed to be modified before nodding. He walked back to the sofa and sat down, picked up his cell phone, and called Xiao Zhao to tell her that the land transfer agreement here had been signed and it was up to the Pole to negotiate with Tan Shahen. Xiao Zhao chuckled on the phone. Zhang Chen also laughed and said, "It's not that I didn't talk about it, it was them who drove me away." "I know," dear Xiao Zhao said. "Master, where is our new factory?" He Hongmei shouted on Xiao Zhao's phone. "It's right in Xiaosha Development Zone, at the corner of Road 1 and Road 2. "I understand. Is it at the Wenyuan intersection? There is a company that makes prefabricated cement panels and hollow bricks there," He Hongmei asked. Zhang Chen asked curiously, "How do you know this and still know it so clearly?" "Idiot, our school has also moved to Xiaosha," He Hongmei scolded. "Every time I go back to school, I always take this road. How could I not know?" Zhang Chen laughed and said, "Okay, I forgot about this. That place is nice," He Hongmei said. "I passed by there before and often thought about such a big open space. I wonder what will be used for it in the future." "Haha, it turns out it will be our factory in the future." "That's right," Zhang Chen said. "Then did you know that there is a spicy fish restaurant there that is very delicious, 10 or 20 times better than what we had before? The boss is also from Sichuan." "Really?" Xiao Zhao and He Hongmei shouted at the same time. "Of course it's true. I ate a bowl of it each afternoon, as well as sour radish," Zhang Chen said. "Hey, He Hongmei, this store is on number 1 road, and you haven't eaten there before." "Idiot, when I was studying, our school hadn't moved to Xiaosha yet, It was still when I rode, He Hungmei scolded. Jiang Chen understood and said, that's okay. When you come back, that place can be used as a base for you and the pole to settle accounts. He Hungmei and Xiao Zhao heard this and laughed on the phone. After they finished laughing, Jiang Chen said with some pride, not only was the agreement signed today, I even drew the renderings of the factory. So fast? My dear, what does our factory you designed look like? Xiao Zhao asked. He Hungmei was on the side and said jokingly, hurry up, my dear, tell us quickly. Xiao Zhao and Jiang Chen laughed. Jiang Chen told them his design on the phone. Xiao Zhao sighed and said, what should I do, dear? I just want to see your renderings now. Jiang Chen said, I also want to show it to you, but it's a pity that I can't reach it. Video, video. Dear, quick video, He Hungmei shouted. Jiang Chen's eyes lit up, yes, we can video. He quickly ran to his desk and turned on the computer, then opened MSN, and clicked on He Hungmei's profile picture. After the dialog box came out, Jiang Chen shouted, wait a minute, I'll get it. Jiang Chen ran to the conference table, took the renderings, returned to the computer, raised the renderings, and faced the camera. He kept backing away until the entire painting entered the camera. Don't move, every time you move, it will become a mosaic, He Hungmei shouted. Jiang Chen stood still and tried his best to control the hand holding the renderings from shaking. The renderings gradually became clearer in the computer. Jiang Chen saw that Xiao Zhao and He Hungmei's heads were about to get into the computer, and they both laughed. That's so cool, master, He Hungmei shouted. Demolish it, demolish it. The old ones won't go and the new ones won't come. I don't want the dilapidated factory in Sanbeo. I want this new factory, Xiao Zhao shouted. Jiang Chen teased her, then my husband also has an old one, do you want to get a new one too? Xiao Zhao shook his head, forget it, husband, he is just old and jealous, the older the better. Jiang Chen laughed, and He Hungmei glared at Xiao Zhao and cursed, you too, do you want to be so disgusting and stimulate me like this? Xiao Zhao smiled and said, what, you're jealous? If you're jealous, go catch one on the street. He Hungmei slapped Xiao Zhao and said, I'm going to drive you away and make you go back to Hangzhou and soak in old vinegar every day. Jiang Chen and Xiao Zhao couldn't help laughing. So happy, Jiang Chen, what are you doing? Lu Ligan shouted and came in from the door, followed by Tan Shahan, Lao Tan, and Zhang Mushan. Jiang Chen looked at him and said, I'm chatting with your creditor. Who is my creditor? Old Chiao or Miss Cai? Lu Ligan said and walked over. When he saw He Hungmei and Xiao Zhao on the screen, he said disdainfully, who did I think they were? It turned out to be the Sichuan girl. I owe her drizzle. He Hungmei shouted, Lu Ligan, listen, you don't owe me much, but I am definitely your most difficult creditor, and I will hunt you down for the rest of my life. Chasing me all your life? Sichuan girl, do you want to be so infatuated? Lu Ligan asked. Get lost. It's a pursuit, and I'm chasing you. I won't chase you even if I chase the bus. Everyone inside and outside the computer laughed. Tan Shahan came over, saw He Hungmei and Xiao Zhao inside, and quickly started chatting with them. Lu Ligan turned around and saw the rendering in Jiang Chen's hand, and asked curiously, what is this? What do you think? Lu Ligan looked at it and yelled, isn't this a rendering of your factory? It came out so quickly. Jiang Chen smiled and said, that's right. When Lao Tan and Zhang Mushan heard this, they also came over to take a look. Lu Ligan snatched the renderings away and told them, come on, let's take a look. Lao Tan and Jiang Chen said, it's so fast. On the way here, we were still calculating how much time we would have to take out the drawings. Zhang Mushan also shouted, great, this way, people can go exploring tomorrow. Thank you to user 267124206, Kingbo, and book friend 1611152301031993 for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Have a good evening everyone. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei-Shi Niang. Chapter 1155. The five people walked to the conference table and discussed around the rendering. Everyone was full of praise for Zhang Chen's design, but seeing such a large building, Tan Shuhen hesitated and asked Zhang Mushin, it totaled 100,000 square meters, could it be one? Zhang Mushin asked Zhang Chen, Mr. Zhang, what can be done later, or can the construction period be postponed? Zhang Chen didn't say much, just the dormitory area, a dormitory and a dormitory building, can be delayed. No, both dormitory buildings can be delayed. After Lu Ligan listened to Zhang Chen's introduction to the functions of each building, he looked at the renderings and said, as long as we take down these two dormitories first, that's it? The managers can make do with them in the dormitories for the time being. Zhang Chen said yes. Lao Tan said, this means that these three buildings can be postponed. This is easy. The most difficult construction projects have been eliminated. Zhang Mushin pointed at the factories and office buildings with his fingers and said to them, as long as there are enough manpower and more equipment, it should be possible. No matter what, let's pour down the frames of the two buildings first. If that doesn't work, the workshop can also be done in sections. Fortunately, these two pieces are down. Their exterior walls have to be constructed by other units, not by us, and our people can be transferred to the living areas and road pouring. There isn't much indoor construction, just the treatment of the floor and ceiling, and even the partition walls are rolling shutters, Lao Tan said, but in this case, the outsourcing unit is very important. They are not our own people. Our own people can catch up behind us with whips, and if the outsourced units hold us back, all our previous efforts will be wasted. I will calculate the specific dimensions of each building based on the parcel map at night. Also, I will make a standard floor plan and fax it to you, so that you can have the architectural design and construction drawings tomorrow. Arrange it, Zhang Chen and Zhang Mushin said. Okay, in that case, I will ask them to go prospecting tomorrow. The most important thing is to calculate the consumption of corrugated plates and glass tomorrow. Factories that produce corrugated plates and glass also need time to prepare materials. As long as the materials are prepared, well, I guess the installation isn't a problem. Zhang Mushin pointed to the concave-shaped factory building and said, in such a large workshop, the electrical and water lines must be divided into several ways. We can let them install them from this side to that side, so that the water, electricity, and steam pipes you need can be installed. Installation can also keep up. Zhang Chen agreed, even if the office comes later, there will be no problem. The most important thing is that the dormitory and half of the workshop can come down, so that my workers from Sanbeo can come there and have a place to live and work. Zhang Mushin nodded. Lu Ligan, Lao Tan, and Zhang Mushin said, I will handle all the procedures. Zhang Mushin, you can concentrate on dealing with the construction site. Lao Tan, you can keep an eye on the outsourcing factories and make them not miss a single day. You will draw manpower from each construction site. Anyway, in one word, this project comes first. Even if we leave our own projects to others, we must get the project done on time, otherwise big trouble will happen. Both Lao Tan and Zhang Mushin agreed. After Lao Tan and Zhang Mushin left, Zhang Chen immediately sat down and began to calculate. He wanted to calculate all the data and make an accurate floor plan. Lu Ligan and Zhang Chen said, don't make a small picture, just make a big picture. No need to fax it, just leave it to me and I will give it to Lao Tan tomorrow. Zhang Chen said yes. In order not to disturb Zhang Chen's work, Lu Ligan and Tan Shuhen walked out and returned to their rooms. After Tan Shuhen took a shower, she came over and saw that some of Zhang Chen's data had come out. She went to get a calculator and reviewed the data. Every data on this paper was very important and there was no room for error. Mistakes, otherwise they will be implemented on the construction drawings and the workers will make a fool of themselves in the end if they work according to the drawings. Lou Ligon also walked in and saw the two of them working. He didn't have anything to do, so he simply walked to Zhang Chen's desk, sat down, and started surfing the internet. Zhang Chen and Tan Shahan were busy until 3 o'clock in the morning. Zhang Chen handed all the things to Lou Ligon. Lou Ligon said to Zhang Chen, "Okay, you won't have anything to do with me from now on. From applying for the land certificate to going through the construction procedures, I will do it myself. As for the project, Lao Tan will take care of it. You should spend your energy on production and how to pay off the American girl's debt." Zhang Chen said, "Yes, thank you." "Thank you," Lou Ligon said. "By the way, Zhang Chen, if Sanbeo village comes to you again to talk about demolition, you can be a mouthpiece and pass their words to Tan Shahan and let her go. To deal with it, you don't agree to anything, do you understand? If you nod, you will suffer a big loss. For them, of course, it is best for them to hope that you nod everything." "Yes, the Pole is right," Tan Shahan said. "There is a total amount control for the demolition money. If you take more, there will be less in their village. It is best for you not to take a cent, but they are not your father. Why do you have to pay their bills? Don't give it up for free. Here at the Collection and Storage Center, I will go say hello to Director Chu tomorrow and ask him to come here to put some pressure on the village. The advantage you have now is that Sanbeo is not Wufa village. There are many enterprises above designated size in Wufa village, and Sanbeo is your family, you are a special case. This is a special case. It's easy to handle. You can have various explanations and deal with special cases. This money is not given to anyone. If I give you a little more, what's the matter? In short, just don't nod randomly," Lou said the Pole. "Zhang Chen, you'd better not even go to the Three Forts. When the village calls you, just say you're not in Hangzhou, and you're talking nonsense in Beijing, Shanghai, and the United States. You have to say it nicely, but you can't lie to people anyway. In exchange for your life, you ask them to find me. The business cards printed last time have not been used up. I am still your executive vice president here, and I will find a way to drag them away. As long as they drag it on, they will understand that we are not easy to talk to. Stop fooling us. We have to become their worry first, and then they will think of coming to treat them. How to treat them? Real money. Don't worry, wait for them take the initiative to raise the conditions first, and then we will add more money, do you understand, Zhang Chen?" Tan Shahan said. Zhang Chen looked at Lou Ligon and Tan Shahan and said seriously, "Dad, Mom, the kid understands." Lou Ligon and Tan Shahan laughed. "Let's go, I've been doing nothing all night and I'm already hungry." "Aren't you hungry? Go to Longxiang Bridge for a midnight snack," Lou Ligon shouted. The three of them went to Longxiang Bridge. After finishing their midnight snack, Zhang Chen looked at his watch. It was already past 4 o'clock, but he was still very excited and not sleepy. The three of them returned to the dynamic zone together. Lou Ligon and Tan Shahan went to their rooms to sleep. Zhang Chen walked into his office, turned on the air conditioner at full speed, and made a cup of strong tea. He didn't plan to go back to Peach Blossom Garden. It was almost dawn and running around was too troublesome. He wanted to just lie down on the sofa in the office. He turned off the light and fell on the sofa, but his brain was running at high speed. He thought that after JASA was completed, the factory in Sanbeo would still be stopped for 2 days anyway, and so many machines and equipment would have to be moved there. It still needs to be placed and installed in place, and the workers also need to move things. It seems that a 2-day stop is necessary. But there is a way, that is, he can work overtime until all night the day before. In this way, he can get back half a day's production, which is actually equivalent to stopping work for a day and a half. He can still afford such a stoppage. Still not sleepy, he simply stood up, walked to the window, opened the curtains and looked outside. He saw the splendid Jiangnan opposite, and there was an office with a lonely light on. He calculated, there should be its Lao Ni's company. It seems like someone in his company even forgot to turn off the lights after get off work. I haven't seen Lao Ni for a long time. It is said that Lao Ni now has 2 former stewardesses. Zhang Chen saw in the newspaper that he also bought a private jet. In the newspaper, he was wearing a cashmere coat. He was standing next to Lao Ni. Listen. Lu Ligan said they were the 2 former stewardesses. Zhang Chen shook his head and laughed. He recalled the impression that Lao Ni gave him. He was always very serious. Unexpectedly, he was still a flowery old man. If this man is a flower, it seems that he is never too late at any age. Lu Ligan and Huo, all spent on the front half, and this Lao Ni spent on the second half. Zhang Chen walked over and turned on the light. He saw the paper, pen, and paint that had not been taken away on the conference table. He remembered it and simply drew 2 more renderings and framed them. One was placed in his office, and the other was taken to Zhao's Higang. Has a calming effect. While Zhang Chen was painting, he felt very emotional at the same time. What a big deal this was. Unexpectedly, in one day, everything turned around and all the problems were solved. But thinking about it carefully, Zhang Chen still felt scared. If he didn't have friends like Lu Ligan, Tan Shahen, and the others, he would be alone. No matter how rich you were, you could buy expensive land and ask for less demolition money, but this alone there are a lot of procedures in the middle that may kill you. Not everything can be solved with money. Including meeting a construction company instead of Zhang Mushan, giving up the job in the middle of the job, and renegotiating the terms with you, you will be forced into desperation. Without them, this demolition might have killed you all at once. Your factory would have to stop working in the middle. No matter how hard your customers push you, no matter how hard you shout, no one will pay attention to you. To those people, they said that driving you away and freeing up the land to sell is their top priority, and they don't care about the life or death of the company at all. When the income from selling a piece of land is higher than the profits and taxes paid by dozens of companies, who wouldn't kill the goose to get the eggs? In the past few years, the most popular word was investment promotion. Since last year, the most popular word has been city management. Since the city is being running is not just about buying and selling, then you must sell something in exchange for something. Unfortunately, Zhang Chen feels that a corporate entity like himself is within the scope of being betrayed. Whether they are state-owned or private enterprises, they will be shut down and reorganized, and they will be forced to relocate. A good Qingtai Street, with so many distinctive Republic of China buildings on both sides, and the city and railway stations that carry so many historical memories, can be said to have been demolished. What does your small half-acre of land count? If you can't save yourself, you die. Everything is simple. Zhang Chen was thinking while painting. The painting was finished, but Zhang Chen always felt a little obscure when looking at the blue sky in the painting. He hoped that there was a piece of pure land under the sky. Zhang Chen shook his head and sighed softly. Thank you to Dal Tin Soldier and Riri Shushu for the reward. Thank you Tang Bohu, Firewood Gatherer, Chien Dad, and Book Friend 2019072616300295 for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1156. Zhang Chen called Zhao's Higang and asked him to come over. Zhao Zhigang came over. Zhang Chen showed him the renderings. Zhao Zhigang's eyes widened and he asked, "Is this our new factory?" Zhang Chen said yes, construction will begin today. Is that okay? Is it worthy of you? Zhao Zhigang smiled and asked, "Where is this factory?" Xiaosha Development Zone. That place is nice, Zhao Zhigang said, "They are all big companies." Yes, we are also a big company. Zhao Zhigang smacked his lips and said, "Such a big factory is really enjoyable. I gave this picture to me." Okay, Zhang Chen said, "But don't post it in the office. You can show it to the supervisors during meetings." Why? Zhao Zhigang asked. "I also want to post it in the employee cafeteria so that all workers can see it." Zhang Chen originally wanted to tell him that he couldn't let the people in Sanbeo village know that he was ready to move, so that he could increase Tan Shahan's negotiating leverage with them, but then he thought about it and realized that he really couldn't hide this matter. I'm afraid Tan Shahan and the others had just signed an agreement with Jasa village yesterday, and Sanbeo would have known about it. Forget it, just post it wherever you want, Zhang Chen said. Zhao Zhigang quickly said okay. However, during this period, I will basically not go to the Sanbeo factory. You should keep an eye on the factory, Zhang Chen said. Also, if people from the village committee ask you, you should say that I should be all over the country. I'm traveling all over the place, and this is the busiest time for our company, so just ask them to call me. Zhao Zhigang said yes, but immediately asked, "Why is this?" A soldier never tires of deceit. Do you understand? I don't care about the demolition, but Mr. Lu and Mr. Tan are in charge of it. Do you understand? Zhang Chen said. Zhao Zhigang probably understood, and he laughed. Why are you laughing? Zhang Chen asked. Zhao Zhigang said, "You are too talkative, right? When it comes to demolition, whoever is talkative is the unlucky one. There was almost a fight in their village yesterday." Why? Zhang Chen asked. We can't agree on the terms. The secretary and the director went to someone's house yesterday to negotiate, but they were kicked out. They said they were going to demolish them. The whole village will demolish your two households first. After you demolish them, you can come and talk to us. This village people, what can they do? It's not easy to do. Zhang Chen nodded and understood, and said, "By the way, as long as someone comes to you to talk about demolition, you must have a good attitude and say, 'Our company will definitely cooperate, but the specific matters are not your responsibility.' Understand?" I understand, let's just delay it first. The longer we delay, the more anxious they will be. Our factory is already building it anyway, so there's nothing to be anxious about, Zhao Zhigang said. Zhang Chen laughed and scolded, "Why the hell do you think you are all better than me when you talk about this? It's not that you're not good, you're just too thin-skinned. But at this time, what's the use of being thin-skinned, and what's the use of being a good person? Good people suffer, so you can make more money as compensation, even if you treat the workers to eat a few more braised pork meals, it's better than anything else, boss, am I right?" Zhao Zhigang asked. Zhang Chen said, "Yes, everything you say is the truth. If your name is not Zhao Zhigang, you should be called Zhao Zhenli." Zhao Zhigang left, and Zhang Chen also stood up and prepared to leave. He wanted to go back to Splendid Home to sleep first, and then go to Lu Ligan's office. Zhang Chen was worried that people in Sanbeo village would go directly to the company's office to find him. He decided to work at Lu Ligan's place every day. If anyone in the company had anything to do, he would let them go there. Find him. If he was accidentally blocked by people from Sanbeo village, Zhang Chen felt that he and Zhao Zhigang would talk the same thing, but face to face, when they talked about the conditions with him, he would really say the same thing as Zhao Zhigang. That's so easy to talk about. Zhao Zhigang will blush when talking to others, but he will be very persistent in his heart. He will not blush, but the city defense in his heart will soon fall. There are some things that are innate. You are aware of it yourself and try hard to change it. When no one is around, you think about it well, but when you meet people, you forget all your thoughts. It was not unreasonable for Lu Ligan and Tan Shahan to drive him away. When Hui Huan saw the demolition notice on the street, she felt her head buzzing. She hurriedly ran back to the store. The first thing she did was to call her sister. She heard the news on the phone. She was anxious about this matter, so she said, "Just wait, I'll come right away." Hui Huan was restless in the store. It was after 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and there was no customer in the store. Even the chef had already got off work and would not come until 4 o'clock. Hui Huan was alone in the store, washing all the dishes, washing the vegetables that would be used in the evening, and drying them there. After finishing the hygiene in the store, she also cleaned up the kitchen. Hui Huan has to save money to repay the loan, so she doesn't even dare to hire a waiter or helper. When the customers are there, she herself is the boss's wife and waiter. After the customers leave, she herself is the boss's wife, helper, and waiter. When the secretary and director come to have dinner, she is the waiter and the bartender, and the chef is also responsible for the waiter work outside. The chef always complains that he is too busy for a person like him, but there is nothing he can do if he is too busy. Anyway, Hui Huan made up her mind that she would not hire a waiter. She gave the chef an extra 150 yuan a month salary and told him clearly that this is your salary as a waiter. In this way, the chef had nothing to say. Sometimes when she saw too many bowls, Hui Huan would. When she was too busy, he came to help Hui Huan. Hui Huan knew that he really wanted to be her boyfriend, but Hui Huan looked down on him. She thought with disdain in her heart, "If you want to be my boyfriend, you must at least give that false evidence." Replaced by true. Hui Huan is not stupid. Why doesn't she know that he bought his first-class chef certificate? If you are a first-class chef at such a young age, then you are a young talent. Every restaurant will treat you as a treasure. Where? I will come to this small restaurant to apply for a job. On the day he came to apply for the job, Hui Huan exposed his tricks and killed his arrogance. Then she told him that although you are a fake, I have decided to use you. You will be honest with me in the future. A little. This fake first-level chef certainly agreed. When Hui Huan was cleaning the chopping board, she found that there was no soy sauce. Hui Huan cursed, this dead man didn't know how to say anything when he got off work. There was no soy sauce. Hui Huan took good care of her hygiene and sat in the shop for a while. Then she stood up, locked the door, and went to the street to buy soy sauce. When she was about to reach the small supermarket, she saw a bunch of people gathered on the street, looking at something posted on the wall. Hui Huan's heart skipped a beat, and she immediately had a bad feeling. She hurried over without squeezing in. She saw the demolition notice in the crowd, and Hui Huan's head buzzed. She was really afraid that something might happen. The thing she was most worried about during this period had come. Hui Huan even forgot to buy soy sauce and hurried back to the store. The first thing she thought of was to call her sister. Hui Huan was restless in the store. Her sister hadn't come yet. She was thinking about whether she should go to the village committee to ask first, but she immediately rejected the idea. She thought she should wait for her sister to come first and go to the village committee with her sister. It has only been a few months since she came here and took over this store. Although she knows all the village cotters, she still supports them in normal times, so the relationship between her and them has always remained that of store owner and customer. This level of intimacy was at most a little bit intimate, but that was just what she was pretending to be, and it wasn't really that intimate. Although she knew that these old people wanted to be intimate with her, she didn't want to. Hui Huan has been a beauty since she was a child. She is too familiar with such people and such eyes. When she was in junior high school, Her class teacher and the principal in high school all had such eyes when they looked at her, which made her feel disgusting. This is the reason why no matter how bad Huihuan's grades are, no matter whether it is the class teacher, the principal or anyone else, if they want to give her extra lessons, she won't want them. Huihuan walked to the door from time to time and looked across the street. Her sister didn't come, so she stepped back and sat down in the store. After a while, she couldn't help but went out to look again, but her sister still didn't come. Her sister is her only support now. She dare not tell her parents about this news, otherwise they will worry to death. The only thing she can say is her sister. The only one who can help her may be her sister. At home, they are just sisters, no brothers. According to the family planning policy, even in rural areas, if you have 2 daughters, you cannot have another. In their village, family planning control is still very strict. In villages like theirs, in this case, some people escaped and secretly gave birth to a child, but their parents did not do that. Huihuan felt that her sister had a better relationship with the village committee here than she did, so it might be more effective to follow her. Her sister was married to Hangzhou, but not to Sanbeo, but to Zhuantang. Lingjia Kiao village over there. My brother-in-law is a plasterer and a small foreman. My sister came here to open this restaurant because my brother-in-law is here at the construction site of the Sanbeo village committee building. When he is working, my sister comes over to help with the cooking. After the work here is done, my brother-in-law goes. I moved to other construction sites, but my sister stayed and opened a restaurant here. This place was where their construction team used to pile cement. After the construction team left, the house was left to the village. My sister asked the village to rent it. Huihuan waited in the store until 3:30, and her sister finally arrived. The two chatted hastily for a few words. Her sister asked, "Have you gone to the village to ask?" Huihuan said no, and her sister rolled her eyes and said with dissatisfaction, "Let's go." Walking on the road, my sister complained, "I really don't know what is going on in your mind. It has been a few months since you opened a store here, and they didn't tell you that this place was going to be demolished?" Huihuan lowered her head and did not speak, nor did she dare to speak. My sister sighed, "If I were here, they must have told me a month ago. Thanks for the tip from the third one from top to bottom, 131 on the shore. Thank you for your light monthly pass. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Have a good evening everyone." The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1157. Huihuan followed her sister, and the two of them arrived at the village committee. There was no one in the secretary and director's offices on the first floor. There was only a clerk there. When he saw her sister, he called out, "Oh, boss lady, you are a rare visitor." His sister asked him where the secretary and director had gone, and the clerk said that he didn't know either. When I arrived on the second floor, I saw Accountant Ge's office door open. My sister took Huihuan and walked in. Accountant Ge laughed when he saw them. "Hey, the two boss ladies are here together. Come on, please take a seat." My sister smiled and said, "Accountant Ge, it's not interesting that you didn't disclose any information in advance about such a big thing as demolition. The notice was given the day before yesterday." The day before yesterday, Accountant Ge laughed and said, "Moreover, no one dares to reveal that the higher UPS gave the death order, and anyone dares to reveal the news." As Accountant Ge spoke, he put his palm across the front of his neck and asked, "Do you understand? Come on, I'm opening a shop here, and you reveal this kind of information to me. How little do you reveal? If you have to behead someone, then Accountant Ge's head has been beheaded so many times," said my sister. Accountant Ge laughed, "That's you, and only you can say that for you, even beheading is worth it." As Accountant Ge spoke, he glanced at Huihuan, and her sister frowned. "Okay, don't be pretentious. Where are the secretary and director? Asked my sister. Them. They are all burning up now. They are in the office. Where can they stay? They must be in the village. I don't know if their brains have been cracked by the villagers. There is no such easy job as demolition. I am usually polite. Angry, at this time, they are all unruly people, Accountant GE said. What about where we are? Asked my sister. Don't worry, we are not those people on the street. Those people said in the agreement that if force majeure occurs and the time is not up, even the rent will not be refunded. Several families are already making trouble, renting our village as for the house. Although this is included in the agreement, every penny of our rent will be refunded. This has been settled. Just refund the rent. As you know, our store has just been renovated, my sister said. What about the compensation for the renovation, relocation fees, and compensation for closing down the business? Well, we haven't reached that point yet. I won't lie to you. It's still early. There are still a few months to go. What we have to deal with now is the villagers' affairs. The tenants have not been discussed yet. Don't worry, villagers. Now that the matter has been taken care of, we will discuss your matters next. The person renting the house in the village is not your family, so what do you have to worry about? Accountant GE said. There's no intention at all in the village, my sister asked. No, it's really not that far. Let's go about your business with peace of mind. If I have any intention, I will be the first to tell you. Let me put it this way, boss lady, do you think you are sincere enough? Accountant GE asked. My sister quickly said thank you, thank you. The other party has already reached this point. If you ask any more questions, it will be meaningless. On the contrary, it will appear that you are ignorant. My sister stood up and said yes, Accountant GE, thank you. I will treat you to a drink another day. Okay, I don't have to drink other people's wine, but I will definitely drink your boss lady's wine. Accountant GE said, and his sister smiled charmingly at him, and then said, you are busy, let's go first. The two people left the village committee and returned to the store. The sister said, closing the door. Huihuan closed the door. Give me a glass of water. I rushed over as soon as I got your call. I didn't even have time to take a sip of water, my sister said. Huihuan quickly poured a glass of water for her sister. Her sister took a sip and cursed, it's so hot, you want to burn me to death. Huihuan murmured, it's still winter, where can we find cold water? Her sister glared at her, why are you sitting down and standing there like a piece of wood? Huihuan sat down. My sister pursed her lips and blew on the water in her hand, trying to cool it down. Sister, I asked about it, and they said that in our situation, without a business license, the construction here is illegal, and there is no compensation at all, Huihuan said. Have you asked? Who did you ask? If you have asked, do you still need me to take you to the village to ask? Asked my sister. That's it? I went to Sijiking that day and saw someone setting up a table there, saying it was for legal services. I asked them about it, Huihuan said. My sister said impatiently, does the legal service pay you or does the village pay you? If his words are more effective than the village, then why is he setting up a stall like a dogskin plaster seller? That's voluntary service. Shit. The village has the final say on matters in the village. Didn't Accountant GE say that this matter hasn't been discussed yet? It's still early. What are you worried about? Huihuan pursed her lips, I'm just worried, sister. The money for the decoration here and the money given to you were all borrowed from the credit union by my parents. My sister put the cup on the table and cursed, Huihuan, what do you mean by this? Do you still think that I tricked you into coming here, huh? I didn't know that this money was a loan from my parents. Come here, do you think I'm not in a hurry? I'm not in a hurry, so I came here from Zhuantang as soon as I got your call? Do you know how many times I changed buses? Hui Huan lowered her head and stopped talking. However, from the bottom of her heart, she really felt that her sister had been encouraging her to take over the store, and she was really trying to trick her into coming here. Every table here, even if it is broken, Hui Huan will throw it away after taking it, and her sister will also pay for it. Every plate and bowl here, even if it is broken, her sister will also pay for it, Hui Huan will pay for it. When she felt a little unhappy, my sister would say, "You and your sister still know each other so well." Hui Huan didn't dare to speak up, but she cursed in her heart, "So you and your sister still know so well?" The most outrageous thing is that when Hui Huan took over the place and started to decorate it, her sister came to her and told her that there was still a sum of money that had not been calculated, which was the transfer fee. "What transfer fee?" Hui Huan asked. "Didn't I already calculate your undue rent to you, sister?" "Oh, the rent is the rent, and the transfer fee is the transfer fee. Go to the street and ask which store has no transfer fee. Don't you like to go to Sijiking? Go to Sijiking and ask, is the transfer fee? It's higher than the rent." Hui Huan had no choice but to give her a transfer fee of 3,000. Otherwise, her sister would scold her again. "How can you and your sister be so clear about it?" After Hui Huan paid the transfer fee, she ran to the street and asked. She was told that only if the transfer was from someone else, there would be a transfer fee. There would be no transfer fee if the person rented directly from the landlord. Moreover, on this street, the highest the store transfer fee is only 2,000. Hui Huan understood that the sister was someone else, so there was a transfer fee, and it was someone else, so it was very high. The elder sister looked at Hui Huan and saw that she had her head lowered and was silent. The elder sister sighed, and she lowered her tone and said, "Hui Huan, it's not that my sister told you. You don't need your sister to come over to do this kind of thing. You should be able to handle it yourself. Did you hear what Accountant GE said earlier? Accountant GE said that he just beheaded him. I will also reveal this news to my sister. Not only are we about to behead him, but he just issued the notice the day before yesterday. Why didn't he come over to tell you the day before yesterday? I heard that Accountant GE, the secretary, and the director were all having dinner at your place last night. Why was there no one there? Thinking of telling you? Think about it carefully, why? If I were still here and I wasn't bragging, I guarantee that they would tell me obediently. You are you and I am me," Hui Huan said softly. "What do you mean, Hui Huan? What do you mean by this? Not interesting." My sister snorted and scolded, "Don't act like this when things happen. Even big things require people to find ways to solve them. Who do you think you are showing off by acting like this? Do you think they will, seeing you look so dead, I will sympathize with you? Dreaming. Hui Huan, I know you are arrogant and look down on your sister, right? You think some of her ideas are dirty and mean. Yes, I admit it, but what can I do? Our family is an official or a capitalist, you is it an official lady or a wealthy lady from a capitalist's family? It's nothing. There's nothing in our family. So tell me, why do people curry favor with us? Why are you so arrogant? If there's anything our parents left us, it's that we're both women, and we're still be worthy of us, make us look pretty, and be better than those ugly monsters. When it comes to capital, we only have this little capital, do you understand? If you can make good use of this capital, people may still curry favor with you. If you don't even know how to use this and still act indifferent to others, then that's your own fault. Don't waste your little capital. If you waste it, you will be no different from an ugly person. When you go out, be more flexible and do things that don't hurt your skin or flesh. What's so great about flattering these stinky men casually? Do you think the husband you find in the future will be sweet? Stop dreaming, it's the same It's the same stinky man. For someone like your brother-in-law, who doesn't have much money, has done 2 projects, and still owes the wages of the workers below. He goes out to eat, and he also learns to hug the older girls. I can see through what you are doing. You are as protective as a jade. How about defending yourself for such a stinky man? The elder sister cursed so hard that she felt dizzy. She stood up and saw that Huihuan still lowered her head and said nothing. The elder sister waved her hand and said, "Okay, I have told you everything I should say. Let's see what to do yourself. I'm leaving, and I still have to catch 4 buses when I get back." As her sister spoke, she opened the door and walked out. Huihuan quickly stood up and followed her, wanting to see her off, but her sister didn't look back and ran away as if running away. Looking at her sister's back, Huihuan felt that the sister she thought was the only one she could rely on was no longer reliable. Huihuan turned around and walked back to the store, closed the door with a bang, sat down, and suddenly burst into tears. The door was pushed open, and the chef's head stuck out of the door. "Get out," Huihuan shouted loudly. I'm at work, it's almost 4 o'clock." The chef pointed to the kitchen and said. Huihuan slowed down her tone and said, "Go back, we won't open the door today." The chef said oh and backed out, closing the door behind him. She has been in Hangzhou for such a long time and is busy in the store every day. Tonight is the first time Huihuan comes to the West Lake. She sits there with the cold wind blowing on her face, which is biting, and the wind also carries the smell of the lake. Huihuan stared blankly at the West Lake in the night before her. It was dark, the lake was dark, and even the figures walking around were dark. There is heaven above and Suzhou and Hangzhou below. This is paradise. Such a broken paradise is not as warm as a quilt. Huihuan thought blankly, but didn't get up. "Thank you Andrew for your monthly pass. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all a happy life." The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1158. When Huihuan has nothing to do, she will walk out of the hotel door, walk a few steps towards the village committee, and watch the village committee from a distance. The village committee is much more lively now than before. In this building, people come in and out all day long. Some people go in and out laughing, some go in and come out cursing. The difference from the past is that now the gate, there are many members of the zone defense team standing every day. There are also various administrative law enforcement vehicles, some with industrial and commercial law enforcement printed on them, some with tax inspection printed on them, some with labor inspection and health inspection printed on them, and some with industrial and commercial law enforcement printed on them. Indispensable for environmental law enforcement are police cars from the police station and jeeps from the fire brigade. At first glance, he looked like he was busy with official duties. Once, she even saw the owner of a small department store on the street being dragged out of the building by 2 joint defense members and thrown under the steps. Many people gathered around to watch, and Huihuan also followed. The boss was a man in his 40s, sitting on the ground crying. From his crying, everyone knew that it turned out that he had paid a year's rent more than a month ago, and now the landlord refused to refund the rent, saying that it was stipulated in the contract and that this was force majeure. Force majeure, a rare word, has now become a familiar word to everyone on Sanbeo Street. If the landlord knows this word, it means that he does not have to refund the money. If the tenant knows this word, it means that his money has been wasted. Everyone went to look at their rental contracts and felt dejected when they saw the tenants with this word in it. The tenants without this word had hope in their eyes and felt that their money was still secure. The owner of the small department store, the landlord, not only did not refund the overpaid rent, but also did not receive any compensation for decoration, relocation, or closure of business. In a word, if you still want to do business, you can continue to do it here. Anyway, in the end, if you don't leave, bulldozers will come to drive you away. As for the money, there will be no money. The landlord's reason was also very reasonable. He said, these compensations are all per household. It's shameless. Are you from our family? Why should I give you the money to supplement our family? Furnish. When it comes to decoration, take a look at what you want to tear down. You can tear it down. I've made my house such a mess and I didn't ask you to restore it to its original state. It's already very polite of me. The villagers on the street immediately formed an alliance. They all agreed that no one could let go of the money to the tenants. Anyone who let go would betray everyone. The landlord refused to refund the money, and the tenants really had no choice. They couldn't help but quarrel with them, let alone beat them. In a village, dozens or hundreds of relatives would come with their dicks in hand when they were called. How could you do this? Them. There are also some villagers who usually get along well with their tenants and have some sense of conscience. They feel that it is not easy for these tenants to wander in a foreign land like this. They still have to give them the money they should give, otherwise they will suffer retribution. But they couldn't openly violate the villagers' alliance, and they didn't dare to speak out. They could only call the tenant in and tell him everything, don't talk nonsense, don't be meddlesome, and just do your own business. The money given to you will be given to you every cent when you leave. Don't worry about other people's affairs, you know. After taking this reassurance, the tenant was naturally happy, but his face was still as sad as the other tenants. However, if some tenants next door quarreled with the landlord, these people continued to stay in the store honestly. Will not join in the fun. The villagers have formed an alliance, and the tenants are quickly divided. Those who rent houses in the village have been promised to refund their rent. Unlike Huihuan, they have not decorated the house in the first place, and of course they will not expect any compensation for renovation. They are already very satisfied if the rent can be refunded to them. These people posted demolition sale notices on their doors one after another and concentrated on handling their inventory. After their own inventory was sold out, they had to restock and continue the demolition sale this time. It turned out to be a golden period for them to make money. There are also a group of people who have privately agreed with their landlords, and they have also participated in the demolition sale. The remaining ones, even if they want to make trouble, can't make any waves. They are timid, scratch their noses, and then hold a demolition sale, hoping to take advantage of this opportunity to make more money and reduce themselves. Loss. Those who originally wanted to make a fuss calmed down when they saw the owner of the small department store making a fuss. There were still several months left, so there was no need to be so tense with the landlord now. In their hearts, they hoped that the owner of the small department store would make more trouble. The more aggressive the better, let's see what results he will have. If he succeeds, they will have a reason to confront the landlord. But they will not support the small department store owner through actions. When are there so many people in this society who hope that others will become martyrs to fight for their rights and interests? When others sacrifice, they still feel dissatisfied and feel that your sacrifice is not big enough and you do not win enough rights for them. After not getting any bargain from the landlord, the owner of the small department store had to go to the village, the director, and the secretary. They were worried about the affairs of the villagers alone. When they saw him, they kicked him out. They said, "Whose house are you renting? We didn't ask you to rent it, it was negotiated by you yourself. If there are any conflicts, you will resolve them yourself. If you can't solve it yourself, you can go to court and sue the landlord. You are not a villager in our village. Why come to the village committee? Our village committee has no obligation to take care of your bad things. Go, go, go out." The owner of the small department store refused to leave, so the people from the joint defense team picked him up and threw him outside without saying a word. Huihuan looked at the owner of the small department store and felt even more panicked. She felt that his today might be her tomorrow. Huihuan looked at him, feeling very sympathetic. The onlookers had slowly dispersed. Hui Huan went back to her store, took a bottle of water, walked over, and handed it to the owner of the small department store. Hui Huan saw the joint defense team members on the steps staring at her. Her heart skipped a beat and she thought, had she done something wrong again? At this time, your behavior is provocative in the eyes of others, and it will be judged that you and the owner of the small department store are in the same group, and that you are also someone who wants to cause trouble. Hui Huan hurried back to her store. After a while, she walked out of the hotel door and looked toward the village committee. She saw that even the owner of the small department store had gotten up and left. Hui Huan sighed, yes, how could this arm twist past her thigh? After the demolition started here, there were more people on the street, but these people all came from the 5th and 7th forts. They came here to go shopping and buy the demolition sale. In fact, there are fewer and fewer people renting houses here. Those whose rented houses have expired will certainly not continue to rent and have moved to 5 and 7 forts. Here in Sanbeo, the people who rent the most houses are the salespersons of Sijiking clothing market. Where there are many girls, there will be more boys. When the girls leave, the boys will follow. The person who feels this population migration most directly is Hui Huan. There are fewer and fewer customers in her store. Those who come from outside to shop generally won't eat here. Even if they eat, they won't find Hui Huan's store. Her place is too remote. It turned out that everyone who lived in Sanbeo knew about her shop and thought that her shop was newly renovated and clean. Once the shop was clean, many people felt that it was more interesting than those sloppy shops where boys invited girls to eat. Or girls who want to eat by themselves like to come to Hui Huan's shop. Of course, there are also boys who came to eat because of Hui Huan. Now these people have left in batches, and there are fewer and fewer customers in Hui Huan's shop. On the contrary, the few people from the village committee came to eat at her place more and more often. After the demolition mobilization work began in this place, cotters from the district and town were stationed here, and various departments collaborated. Combative. Here in Sanbeo, the most common clothing workshops are clothing workshops. Many villagers earn rent by renting out their houses to these clothing workshops as processing points. This is more cost-effective than renting them to live in. The villagers do not want to demolish, which is a big reason. It is also because if the house is demolished and then moved back to the building, this part of the income will be gone. The village and town immediately understood this point, and decided to start by cleaning up the clothing workshops. They would first cut off your financial resources and give you no hope, and then see if you still agree to the demolition. It is too simple for villages and towns to clean up clothing workshops. These clothing workshops are basically 3-no workshops. Most of the clothing processing factories do not even have business licenses. They have been inspected by the industrial and commercial enterprises and sealed. The owners of these workshops broke the seals at night, took out their sewing machines and fled. It doesn't matter if you have a business license. The police department will then check the temporary residence permit. You will come to apply for the temporary residence permit the next day. Well, the Labor Bureau will check the labor contract and the Environmental Protection Bureau will check the pollution discharge permit. Where can these workshops be found? These things, after getting the penalty notice, he ran away. The most powerful thing is that there are taxation and fire protection. If these two are investigated and investigated seriously, you can bear criminal responsibility. After this move came out, only 2 weeks later, all the clothing processing factories in Sanbeo disappeared. The villagers were a little discouraged when they saw the houses empty. With so many people from relevant departments stationed in Sanbeo, reception every day in Sanbeo village is indispensable. In Hui Huan's box, there will be secretaries, directors, and accountants every day, accompanying different guests to dinner, and greeting Hui Huan carelessly. Toast to this, toast to that. Huihuan remembered her sister's words and tried her best to flatter them. Her life was in their hands. Her sister was right, you have no arrogance at all. But men always try to push their limits. Accountant GE has told Huihuan every day, you stay here with us, so that the chef of yours can go back first. How dare Huihuan, there are no customers outside now. If the chef leaves again, what will happen to these people's hands and feet? Huihuan can't even think about it. Huihuan told Accountant GE with a smile that he didn't dare to leave. With so many leaders here, how dare he leave? If the food was cold, he would heat it up. If the food was not enough, he would add more. He would not leave. Accountant GE rolled his eyes at her and shook his head. Thank you to Dal Tin Soldier and Riri Shushu for the reward. Thank you to Lao Zi, Xiong's dad, Young Aben, the Dingli Blade of the country, and Feng Qingyang for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1159. Many times, after Huihuan had a few glasses of wine with them in the box, she would half jokingly and half seriously ask, leaders, how will I handle this in the end? The secretary smiled but said nothing, and the director half jokingly and half seriously told her, it depends on your performance. As soon as the director said that, everyone else laughed. Huihuan blushed. After thinking about it, she continued to ask, what kind of performance? It's a sign of drinking, Accountant GE interjected. Huihuan quickly raised her glass and said, okay, then I'll toast all the leaders again. After saying that, he drank it all in one gulp, leaving those people there, stunned for a moment, and then laughed, shaking his head while laughing. Huihuan looked at them and wondered why they didn't drink after I drank. She didn't know that drinking didn't just mean drinking, nor did performance mean performance. That's not how you drink wine. When Huihuan was drinking with them, the door of the private room was open, and the chef would come and hang out at the door from time to time. Accountant GE looked bored and kicked the door shut. After a while of silence, the chef would come in from time to time and ask Huihuan about this or that. Everyone at the table could tell that the things he asked were all lies and he was just looking for trouble. Only this fool still felt that he pretends to be very similar. He came in and out from time to time, firstly because Huihuan had explained it beforehand, and secondly because he was really worried that she would get drunk by these people. But for people drinking in the private room, the wine feels uncomfortable. Why is it so humming awkward? Sometimes everyone finally got back into the mood again, but as soon as this guy came in, the atmosphere was completely ruined. No matter whose hand was holding Huihuan's waist, he had to let go. After all, they all knew that the chef was Huihuan's boyfriend, and what he gave them was really not a good look. This was not Huihuan's explanation, but the chef's true feelings. Everyone is a little wary of a chef and boyfriend who no longer has a good face. They feel that they cannot annoy him. If he is really annoyed, he forces the chef to become Li Kuei. That is not fun. After all, the guy in Li Kuei's hands is not a chef in the kitchen. When the chef came in again, Huihuan was holding a glass to toast the secretary's wine. The secretary's wine glass had already been raised. When he saw the chef coming in, he put the glass on the table without touching it or drinking, but moved it outside. Chase her away, let's go out and talk about work if anything happens. Huihuan was holding a cup in her hand, her face was turning blue and white, beads of sweat appeared on her forehead, and her smile was a little stiff. She didn't understand what happened and still wanted to stay in the box. The director also shouted in a rough voice. Get out, get out. This look was like that of the boss of the haberdashery store he was chasing outside his office a few days ago. Accountant GE watched carefully. He looked at the secretary, then at the director, and sighed secretly, thinking that he should change places. In the village committee, there is no office director who is responsible for arranging these chores. A clerk who has not yet grown up is not even qualified to eat with them. Therefore, many chores in the village are arranged by the accountant. This is also convenient, the money is with him, and if it is spent, the director will sign it, and the account will be reported. On the streets of Sanbeo, Huihuan's is not the only hotel, there are several others. One of them is grandly called Sanbeo Hotel. It is larger than Huihuan's, but the decoration is already old. The owner of the Sanbeo Hotel is surnamed Wu, and he also has 2 private rooms. Boss Wu has been to accountant GE for a long time to handle the village's reception business, but the people in the village committee are like the original landlady. One is good at her food, and the other is of course a good person for her. The most important thing is that I dislike the fact that the Sanbeo Hotel is located in the middle of the street. The location is too eye-catching. People are always coming in and out there, which has a bad influence. It is not as good as this quiet hotel, which doesn't even have a brand. It is close to the village committee. It was so close that no one could see it, and it was only a few steps away. But now, accountant GE feels different. Isn't this place about to be demolished? When this place is about to be demolished, it smells like war and chaos. There is chaos everywhere. Who cares about whom? There is no issue of whether it will be affected or not. What's more, what they do every day is really an important reception task. The superior departments send people here to assist them in their work. Can they not express their gratitude? Can they not be embarrassed? Even the district mayor said that the demolition of Wufu and Sanbeo is now the top priority in the district. When we got to the town, the mayor's words were even more plain. He said, "I don't care what you do or what means you use. As long as you can help me demolish it in place on time." Listen, for demolition work, eating and drinking is nothing. This hotel is about to be demolished, and other stores are thinking about how to lay off employees. Not only did this Sanbeo Hotel not lay off employees, it also hired 2 new waiters. When they were recruited, Boss Wu personally interviewed them. He must be good looking, he must have a good drinking capacity, and most importantly, he must not have a boyfriend. After the people were recruited, he had to train them himself. In fact, there was no training. These 2 were originally salesmen at Sijiking and were very articulate. Boss Wu just made it clear to them that the treatment they requested was not enough. It's settled, that's it. On the first day they came to work, Boss Wu took them to find accountant GE. When the reception tasks were arranged again in the evening, accountant GE told the secretary and director that we would have a change of taste today. This time, I changed to the 3 Castle Hotel. For several days, no one from the village committee came to eat. Huihuan's shop became deserted. Except for 1 or 2 tables of individual customers, the kitchen stove had just been lit and the furnace was not even heated. The fire was turned off. For 2 days, there was not even a single customer, and the stove was not even turned on. Huihuan and the chef looked at me and I looked at you. They still didn't know what had happened. The chef took out the meat to thaw and put it back every day. In the end, it was almost spoiled, so the 2 of them had to eat it by themselves. Go buy new meat. The fish and shrimps in the water tank were all dead, so I had no choice but to eat them myself. After you eat it, you still have to raise new ones. You can't let others come over and you don't even have the most basic fish and shrimps, right? When Huihuan wakes up every day, she raises her fingers to count. Every night when she goes to sleep, she raises her fingers to count. She can't fall asleep. Now the money that goes out every day is far greater than the money that comes in. This is not enough. Calculate the chef's salary and the house's rent and utilities. There are no customers in the store, and the chef feels uncomfortable staying in the store. He feels that by going to the store every day, he has turned himself into a guest, or the kind of guest who doesn't pay for meals. Every day, when the stove is turned on, all he does is himself and Huihuan. When eating, looking at the fish and shrimp on the table, the two of them could only keep their heads down and eat in silence. The taste was even worse than being tortured. Huihuan was sitting at the counter with a sad face. The chef was huddled in the kitchen with a sad face. Huihuan went to the kitchen and saw that the newly bought meat was no longer fresh. The fish and shrimp in the water tank were almost dead. An unknown fire broke out. He unplugged the oxygen pump in the water tank and shouted at the fish and shrimp in the tank, "Go to hell." At this time, the chef felt that he had no place to stand in the store, so he could only walk out and walk outside to the street. After a while, the chef came back with a gray face. He looked at Huihuan, who was sitting at the counter with a cold face, walked over and said carefully, "They went to the Sanbeo Hotel." Huihuan shivered as if being touched by electricity, her face turned pale, then she raised her head and asked, "What did you say?" "I saw them, they are those people from the village, they went to the Sanbeo Hotel," the chef said. It turned out that they were not skipping meals, but had changed places to eat. Huihuan felt as if she had fallen into an ice hole, and her mouth was still stiff, so she said, "Just go, I'm not interested and I'm too lazy to serve you." As he spoke, he felt aggrieved in his heart, and tears couldn't help but roll down. The cook walked away quickly. That is why Huihuan thought, she has worked very hard. She drank until she was dizzy every day. Their hands were groping her waist and butt. She also suppressed her nausea and didn't avoid it like before. "Why don't you guys still? Are you satisfied? What else do you want from me? All of you are older than my father." The next day, when it was almost time for dinner, Huihuan walked out of the store and looked at the village committee from a distance. She stood for 20 minutes and saw the secretary, director, and accountant GE leading people out. Juan quickly fled back to the store. She was worried that they would come here and she would be seen by them. After a while, there was no movement outside. Huihuan walked out. There was no one outside, and there was no one there. She looked towards the street again and saw them walking towards the street. Huihuan couldn't help but follow them, getting closer and closer. She saw them arriving at the entrance of the Sanbeo Hotel. There were two little girls at the door. When she saw them, she warmly greeted them and then entered the hotel together. It turns out that what the chef said was true. Huihuan walked back with a gray face and walked back to her hotel. The hotel was empty and there was not a single customer. Huihuan walked into the counter and sat down. She sat blankly for a while, with her head on her back. His arms were motionless, as if he was asleep. She raised her head again and was startled by the roar of the fire in the kitchen. She stretched her head and looked inside the shop, but there was still no customer. Only then did she realize that the chefs were preparing their own meals. Huihuan wanted to call her sister's PHS phone. She dialed 2 numbers and put down the phone. She could guess what would happen when her sister came. That was to scold her first and then tell her, "You know what I am doing, how many buses do we need to take to get here from Zhuantang?" "I know, sister, isn't it 4 trips?" She didn't know what else she could say to her sister. "Sister, I'm not arrogant anymore. I've resigned myself to it. I'm as smart as you said." But they still went to the Sanbeo Hotel. "Sister, what do you think I can do?" The chef prepared the meal and asked Huihuan to eat. Huihuan said, "I'm not hungry, so you can eat." The chef hesitated for a moment and told Huihuan that the fish in the tank was dead and he would have to buy new ones tomorrow. Huihuan made no sound. When she got up the next day, Huihuan didn't buy fish, meat, or even vegetables. Just like that, the day passed without any demand. Another day, she still didn't buy anything, and the day passed, and there was still no demand. On the third day, Hui Huan told the chef, "Go back." "Closed today?" the chef asked. "No, I mean, you should go find another job." "We can't work here anymore," Hui Huan said. The chef said, "Oh." He had known that this day would come. He turned around and walked out. He didn't even ask for 9 days' wages this month. He felt that he couldn't ask for it. There is no chef, but the hotel is still there. Hui Huan will still open the door every day, sit behind the counter, or sit blankly, or lie on her arms. When she is hungry, she will light a fire and make something to eat. Or eat a bowl of instant noodles. Occasionally a customer came in and was shocked when she saw the scene and asked her, "Is it closed?" Hui Huan smiled and said, "The door is open here, of course it is open." The guest sat down and ordered. Hui Huan asked, "I'm sorry, can you wait a little longer?" "How long?" the guest asked. "Wait while I go to the market to buy vegetables first," Hui Huan said. "There are none of the dishes I ordered, not even mushrooms and vegetables," the guest asked strangely. Hui Huan nodded. The guest stood up and said, "Forget it, I'll come next time." Hui Huan knew in her heart that there would be no next time. There is no chef, and there are no guests, but the hotel is still there, and the landlady is there. Of course the hotel is there. The landlady has to come to open the door every day. She still has to wait for the results of the village's negotiations. She still has to wait for decoration compensation, relocation fees, and closure compensation. What's the fee? She still has to wait for the money to repay the loan from her parents' credit union. Thank you for the tip from the third one from top to bottom, 131, on the shore. Thank you to Zui Feng's Beizai, acquaintance, and book friend 201709042157455592 for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Have a good evening everyone. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1160. All the clothing workshops in Sanbeo have been cleared, and the speed of the entire demolition has been accelerated. Some villagers have already expressed their agreement to the demolition, and they can enter the house for measurements. Xiao Yang, who was dispatched by the district government to Sanbeo village to contact the demolition work, felt relieved. When eating at Sanbeo Hotel in the evening, he told the secretary and director that these garment factories had finally been moved away, and the boss was in trouble. The director looked at him and said to him, "The biggest one is still here, and it is also the hardest bone to crack." Xiao Yang asked, "Who is it? Isn't it gone?" The secretary said, "Those who can drive away half an acre of land are childish. If they stamp their feet, they will escape on their own. This half acre of land is the most difficult to deal with. If this is difficult to handle, we can handle it the same way," Xiao Yang said. "Then you go and do it," the director said. Xiao Yang said proudly, I'll go. It's just a factory. What's the big deal? Industry and commerce, public security, labor, taxation, environmental protection, sanitation, and firefighting will come together. A large force will come in. Be polite and move out. Forget it, if he doesn't move a muscle, just check him to the bottom. I won't believe him, I can't find anything against him. The director shook his head and said, "You may not be able to find it. Others have gone through inspections that are stricter than ours." "No, if not, we will make one for him," Xiao Yang said. The secretary looked at Xiao Yang and smiled slightly, feeling that he was still young after all and a little ignorant of the heights of the world. Xiao Yang was surprised when he saw the secretary smiling at him and asked, "Why are you laughing?" "Do you know who the boss of this factory is?" the secretary said. "Who is it?" "He is also the boss of the M zone," the secretary said. When Xiao Yang heard this, he retracted his head and did not dare to say anything. The grand occasion when the M zone opened was so impressive that a deputy state-level official from Beijing, the boss and second eldest son of the province, and the first and second eldest son of the city all accompanied the ribbon cutting. Even Lu Changcheng could only stand at the very edge. It can be said that it was the highest level commercial ribbon cutting event in the entire Hangzhou city in recent years. If you bring such a company into the market with the industrial, commercial and tax forces, aren't you looking for death? Have you ever been to this factory? Xiao Yang asked. Not only have we been there, we also specially invited the owner of this company to dinner the day before we made the announcement, the director said, but more than 20 days have passed, and our place is in full swing, but there is no movement at all from him. I didn't even make a call. Tell me, is there such a boss who can hold his breath? Most people would have already come here asking questions. Xiao Yang thought for a moment and said, it looks like it won't be easy. Yes, that's why we feel that this may be the hardest nut to crack, the director said. However, there is good news. The secretary said, we treated him to a meal here, and he signed a land transfer agreement with JASA the next day. All 72 acres of land were taken away, and the factory of 100,000 square meters was moved in on the third day. Construction has started. Do you want to end the fight? Do you know their strength? However, this at least shows that they have already planned to move and have no intention of hanging on. It's not necessarily good news. Xiao Yang shook his head and said, you think, if he didn't have money and had to wait for the compensation money here to build a new factory, then he would be more anxious than us, but if it comes to the demolition money, he wouldn't have any money at all. If he doesn't care, it would be troublesome, so he might. When the time comes, the factory will be moved there and production will continue. He will slowly negotiate terms with us here. He is not in a hurry at all. At that time, even if we want to cut off people's water and electricity, we can't cut them off. When Xiao Yang said it, both the secretary and the director thought it made sense. No matter, anyway, if you stretch out your head, you can cut your head with a knife, and if you shrink your head, I'll go to their factory to have a look first, the director said. Okay, I'll go with you, Xiao Yang said. Come on, let's have a drink. Accountant Ge raised his glass. The four of them clinked and drank. Accountant Ge stood up, opened the door and called out. The two girls walked in. When they saw the four men inside, they understood the situation and immediately sat down between the two men. They smiled to the left and right and sat on the sandwich layer in the middle of the burger. The atmosphere in the box immediately rose. The next day, the director and Xiao Yang went to Zhongchen Sanbao factory. Zhao Zhigang received them warmly. The director asked Zhao Zhigang, have you received the demolition announcement? I received it a long time ago, Zhao Zhigang said. Then what are your plans here? Xiao Yang asked. What are the plans for moving? Our factory doesn't dare to stop for a day. If we stop for a day, the losses will be huge. If we can't ship the goods on time, then the customers will make claims and the losses will be even greater. As Zhao Zhigang said, the director and Xiao Yang nodded. By the way, our factory over there in Xiaosha has already started construction. Don't move too fast. Do you want to see what our factory looks like? Zhao Zhigang asked. The director said yes, show us what you have here. Zhao Zhigang took them to the employee cafeteria and asked them to see the renderings of the new factory. The pictures were really awesome. The director lamented, how much better it would be if this factory had been built here earlier. Zhao Zhigang smiled and said, what's the use? We still have to demolish it now. The director was stunned for a moment and smiled awkwardly. Xiao Yang stared at the renderings. He suddenly thought of something and said with a threatening tone, this is in JASA, right? JASA is not part of the development zone, it is also our river trunk management. The director looked at him and cursed in his mind, what do you mean? If threats are effective, you can just humming threaten them here, not to mention JASA, even if they move to the opposite side of your district government, you don't even dare to give a shit. Bar. Who cares? We are a factory and operate legally. We produce clothes, not drugs, Zhao Zhigang said disdainfully, which gave Xiao Yang a soft nail. Director Zhao, after your factory is built and moved there, what will happen here? The director asked. Zhao Zhigang shook his head and said, I don't know, how can I take care of these things? I am in charge of the factory. Wherever the factory is, my people will be. Of course, the company will handle matters here. By the way, do you know where Mr. Zhang is now? The director asked. I don't know, he's running around. Zhao Zhigang said, we have our own specialty store in Beijing, and a specialty store in Shanghai. There is also a logistics space of more than 200 acres in Shanghai. We have big customers in the United States and Taiwan. We also have a factory in Hangcheng Kiasi, and a factory in Meishaihe. There are art galleries, Yan'an Road, and specialty stores, and there is a dynamic zone on Stadium Road. Who knows where he is? Director, how many times have you met him when you came to my place? He rarely comes here. I haven't seen him for a long time. When something happens, he videos it online and talks about it online. Now he rarely even makes phone calls. The director patted Zhao Zhigang on the shoulder and said to him, you have a bright future, Mr. Zhang Shan. It means that your boss Zhang believes in you. Zhao Zhigang blushed and smiled. The director and Xiao Yang walked out of Zhang Chen's factory. Xiao Yang asked the director, could this boss Zhang be hiding from us? That's not true. I have rarely met him when I came here before. Director Zhao is right. How could such a big company from all over the world be incubated here every day? Besides, he doesn't know we are coming today, and why can he hide from us? The director asked. I'm afraid we'll talk to him about demolition, Xiao Yang said. Then let's not talk about it, the director said with a smile. In the end, we won't still have to talk, or he will ask for a high price, so we have to tell us the asking price first. We can't say it and let us guess. Xiao Yang thought about what the director said, and it made sense. Boss Zhang, let me tell you, he is quite polite. Now that the boss has become so big, he is still the same as when we first met him and he was still a small boss. Now that the boss has grown up, he is not big at all. You'll know it when you see it. The director paused for a moment and continued, to be honest, if I could compensate them a little more, I would really like to compensate them more. This compensation does not come from my own pocket, but when I do a favor, it belongs to me. Who doesn't want to be friends with such a big boss? Section Chief Yang, you should take it easy. If you make friends with such a person, you will be able to come in handy in the future. The director's words were a bit heartfelt. Xiao Yang nodded and said, I understand, thank you, director. I'm going to give Boss Zhang a call. Let me tell you, when we called him to invite him to dinner, he always got the call right away, the director said. Back to the director's office, the director picked up the phone and was about to make a call. Xiao Yang pressed the phone and said, I'm curious about where the boss's company is in this picture. Or, let's go directly to his company. Want to touch him? The director said yes, knowing it in his heart. It seemed that Section Chief Yang still had Xiao Zhiju in his heart and wanted to avoid alerting the enemy. The two people arrived at the dynamic zone upstairs, but saw that the door of Zhang Chen's office was closed. When they walked next door, the director saw Xiao Zhao, and Xiao Zhao also saw the director. They were familiar with each other. Xiao Zhao quickly stood up and walked over to talk to the director. After saying hello, the director asked her, where is your man's family? I'm on a business trip. Does the director have anything to do with him? Xiao Zhao asked. That's right, it's about the demolition of Sanbeo factory, said the director. When Xiao Zhao heard this, he waved his hands quickly and said with a smile, "I don't understand this at all, and I don't care about it. I only take care of the financial affairs." The director smiled and said, "You don't care about your own family affairs. I really don't care. I only care about where the money is sent. I can't control that kind of thing. There is Vice President Tan in the company. What are we doing about land expropriation, acquisitions, and projects? She is in charge of everything," Xiao Zhao said. The director remembered that Director Zhang from JASA had also told him that Mr. Zhang only went over to take a look at their piece of land. The subsequent negotiations and signing of the agreement were all managed by a woman. That woman, she is very beautiful, a nice person, but also very powerful. The director thought it was Xiao Zhao, but now it seems that it is not, it is this Vice President Tan. "Vice President Tan, are you here today?" Xiao Yang asked. "No, how about I tell you her phone number and you make an appointment with her," Xiao Zhao said, and the director and Xiao Yang both nodded. Xiao Zhao rummaged in the desk drawer and found 2 business cards. He handed them to them and said, "Hey, these are her business cards. You can just contact her." The director and Xiao Yang went downstairs and saw a security guard in the parking lot downstairs. Xiao Yang was more thoughtful and walked over and asked the security guard, "When did you see Mr. Zhang?" The security guard scratched his head and pointed to the parking space inside their company and said that it seemed like he hadn't seen his car for a long time, otherwise it would have been parked here. "It's better to call Mr. Zhang and ask." As the director spoke, he picked up his cell phone and dialed Zhang Chen's cell phone. As soon as the call came through, Zhang Chen called out on the phone, "Hello, director." "Hello, Mr. Zhang, I just came down from the upstairs of your company and didn't see you," the director said. "I'm in Beijing, director, why didn't you call me?" "Oh, I was passing by too, so I went up to see you. I also wanted to chat with you about the demolition of your Sanbeo factory and see if you have any difficulties or if there is anything you need our help to solve." Haha, for such a trivial matter, the director needs to make a trip. Just make a call and I'll ask someone to come over. By the way, we have a vice president who is responsible for this matter. Just call her. Wait, I'll send her a call. I'll tell you over the phone, director. No, Mr. Zhang, you mean Vice President Tan, right? I was upstairs and I met your wife. She already gave me Vice President Tan's business card. That's right, that's her. She studies this professionally. As you know, I'm from Tuba Road. It's okay for me to draw. But when it comes to this kind of thing and I'm blind, I still have to leave it to her. However, I have already told her that this demolition is a major matter for the city government, and we must fully cooperate." "Okay, that's good. I know that Mr. Zhang's awareness is something that other bosses cannot catch up with. Thank you, director." Zhang Chen hung up the phone and told Tan Shahan that he was going to hit you soon. Sure enough, Tan Shahan's phone rang. "Thank you Zongkai 727 for your monthly ticket. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all a happy life."